Hey guys, what's going on? Derek here, and today we are doing another live bid reading of the day. So we are streaming to YouTube and Facebook today. So welcome anybody who's going to be attending with us live. As you can see in the thumbnail here, this is the opportunity we're going to be looking at today. You can see it on my screen. We're going to be looking at chef services. They're actually calling it cook, but cook chef services actually over at the U.S. Embassy in Geneva, Switzerland. So I decided to pull this up as an example. And actually, it's not set aside for total small business. So that means small businesses can respond to it, but even a large business could respond to it as well. But this isn't something that I come across every day. And I've been meaning to do some opportunities that are outside of the United States as well, at U.S. locations like the U.S. Embassy in Switzerland. Just to let you know that that's possible. So if you guys have a business or business model that allows you to go outside of the United States, I'm kind of including this as a demonstration of one example. Providing cook services, and you're going to see when we get into it. But it's basically cooking for nine Marines on the daily for up to 5 years. So it might not be a bad contract to have for some of you. So we'll just give it a minute to start and say hello to everybody in the chat. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a great week. I probably shouldn't put this out there, but I'm pretty excited. I am doing an interview later today with Florentina. She was the one who won the janitorial services contract, the video I released earlier this week. So I hope to have the video for that interview out early next week. So I'm super excited to be doing that in a few hours after this. Excuse me. So I think we can actually just get started and get into it. The way that this works is if you have questions regarding the particular opportunity we're going through, feel free to put those questions in the chat as you have them. You don't have to hold back on those questions that are related to the opportunity. And then if you have other types of questions just related to government contracting, this is the time that I'm making myself accessible for you all. I usually do about an hour a week on doing, these type of reading bits live. So if you're stuck in your GovCon business, I do get a lot of emails and I can't respond to most of them. Instead, this is, where I encourage folks to go. Catch me while I'm live and I'll answer your question live. And we can do that towards the end of the session today. That way we keep the questions about the bid opportunity up front. And then at the end, we can answer other types of questions as well. Excuse me, I've had a tickle in my throat this morning. So yeah, that's the way that this structure usually goes and works out. And lastly, I have been receiving a lot of feedback from folks saying, hey, Derek, when do you go live? Well, I've kind of been going live since the summer on Friday early afternoons. I haven't changed the time. There just was that period of, like a month or two where I was moving, where I wasn't able to do that. But I'm coming back to that. So that's the time I anticipate doing these, and that I've been doing these, and I will be doing them in the future as well. So around 11:30, somewhere in there, Central Time, 12:30 Eastern Time. That's where you can find me on Fridays here on YouTube, and I'm multi-streaming to Facebook as well, if you're catching me from there as well. So that's kind of the answer to that question. But if you want a solid answer, just subscribe and click that little notification bell. I don't really say it a whole lot, but that will actually make your phone. Let me grab my phone here. That'll make your phone buzz. It'll give you, a little bit of an alert, like I have it right now saying you're live on the channel. You'll get one of those if you click that notification bell. If you've been trying to catch me live and you don't know exactly what times, just subscribe and click the notification bell and you'll get subscribed to that. So I think we're good. Let me check the chat here. Anthony Bizarre says, what's up, man? What's up, Anthony? Thanks for checking this out today. Thanks for hanging out, rather. And Mary Kay, greetings to you as well, guys. Thanks for hanging out today with me. So I think we can pretty much get into it. Like I said, if you're just now joining, we're going to be looking at chef/cook services at the U.S. Embassy. So this is OCONUS outside the continental United States, but it's still a U.S. federal contract because it's at a U.S. Embassy. It's going to be a cook in Geneva, Switzerland for, I think it's 9, like I said, 9 Marines, something like that. So let me switch my screen here and we can start looking at it. If you have questions about this as we're going through it, again, just put those in the chat and I will bounce back and forth. Dwayne Washington says, what's going on? Jen Adolph. Hey, Jen, hello. Hello to you as well. Cool. Let's get to it, guys. So you should be able to see my screen now. And one thing I pointed out right out of the gate was that this is not set aside for small businesses per se. And when I say per se, I mean technically it is not set aside for small businesses. Small businesses can respond. One of you guys could respond to this, but just know they've opened it up to any company, any size can respond. And that's probably because there's a bit of a limitation and restriction due to the location of the work being done. And they probably thought it would be overly restrictive to only have small businesses respond to this. So just know that you could still respond to this. But when you don't see a set aside, and when we look at the SF 1449 form, I'll show you where they check the box and they call it unrestricted. That's how you can know and be 100% confident if they open up a procurement to large businesses and small businesses. That's where you go to look. So we have a bit of a description to read here and we have one attachment. So that's what we're in for. We're going to dive into that. We have David Cummings in contracting, as well as looks like Danielle Suberlook. So hopefully I pronounced that correctly. So let's tackle this description first. Excuse me, I got to keep clearing my throat here. I've been recording all week and my voice is kind of tapping out. So it's Friday. I'm gonna have to take some time off this weekend, I think. So the permanent mission of the United States of America in Geneva, Switzerland, seeks qualified companies to provide food services. The contractor shall perform food services work 5 days a week, 40 hours per week for the mission. So they're telling us 40 hours per week. Generally, that's letting us know if we're talking about people, we're talking about staffing. It's kind of a clue right off the bat that we're talking about one person, because otherwise it would be more than 40 hours. They're saying the detachment consists of 9 Marines, which would require 1 cook to prepare 18 to 27 meals per day. So that's like 2 to 3 meals per day. If you do the math times 9 people, that gives you 18 to 27 meals per day. So, and you're going to see this is going to be for up to 5 years. The contractor shall furnish, basically you need to take care of it, but they're saying the contractor employee shall be on site. Of course, they shouldn't have to go about saying that. You're going to provide a chef or a cook. Of course, this person has to be on site in Switzerland. The anticipated performance base is for a 1-year base with 4-year option periods. That's how you know it's 5 years. I should say up to 5 years, because if they don't like you, they don't have to execute on the last 4 years, but do a good job and I'm sure they'll like you. All responsible sources may submit a quotation, which will be considered. If you'd like to submit a quotation, follow the instructions in section 3 of the solicitation and complete the SF 1449. They're kind of give you a bit of a heads up on what they're going to want. They're going to say pricing, technical, complete the reps and certs. And they're also saying they need this W-14 form. Let me just actually pull that up because I don't even know what that is. So it's probably because it's outside the United States. Certificate of Foreign Contracting Party. So they would need this form filled out as well. So looks like it's 2 pages. Doesn't look too overwhelming to fill out. So that's what they need in the response. So right out of the gate, before we even have to open up the solicitation doc, the SF 1449, they're telling us pricing, technical, reps and certs, and that form. They're telling us the government intends to award a contract to the responsible company submitting an acceptable offer at the lowest price. So ding, ding, ding. Now there's the second giveaway piece of information. Lowest price. We talk about you can either go lowest price or best value on an evaluation. Lowest price is as long as you're found to be technically acceptable. If you have the lowest price, you will win the bid. That's one option. The second option is best value, which means the government is not necessarily going with the lowest price. What it means instead is they're going with who is going to be most advantageous to the government to choose, and they're willing to pay a little bit more money for that. We're not seeing that option here. Instead, we're seeing lowest price. So if you're going to bid on this and price this thing, you need to know that you need to price this thing to win because it's lowest price. Otherwise, you shouldn't even waste your time. And you have to be registered in SAM, blah, blah, blah. We know that. So when is this due? February 15th, 5 o'clock CET. I don't know what CET is. Is it? Oh, Central. I don't know. CET. I don't know. I don't really care. I feel like it's Central Time, but then it might not be. Someone's going to call me back in the chat, so I better, in the comments on replay, so I better, Central European Time. Okay, that's what CET is. February 15th, 5 o'clock Central European Time. But today is January 15th, so for all intents and purposes, we have a whole month to respond to this. So, hey, if one of you guys are watching this, or you're going to watch this in the future on replay, team replay, you could bid on this and you could potentially win if you're able to pull something off and do business in Switzerland. Let me just check the chat here. Stephen Espinel says, hey, everyone, what's going on? Stephen, thanks for hanging out with us. Dwayne says, I have a question about beta.sam. It's not as user-friendly as FBO. Could you quickly go over it? Dwayne, yep. So questions that are GovCon questions that aren't related to the bid, we'll cover those at the end of the opportunity, at the end of the session today. So we're just keeping questions related to the opportunity right now. I'll try to get to that question at the end of the session. Thanks for that question. So now we have we pretty much went through the description, and a lot of it's going to be copy and paste. So we're going to jump into the solicitation now. Looks like I still had it open from before. So we have a SF 1449 form here. Sign, print, date, all that good stuff that you need to do, 2 pages. And this is a whopping 84 pages long. I mean, this is a heck of a procurement for one cook or cook services. But we should note that they did include the reps and certs within the body of this. And for anybody who's been following in recent weeks when we've gone over these, or just anybody who's been in around, reps and certs can be 20 to 30 pages long. So just know that's going to be a lot of scrolling through. We're still going through them even at this point. So yeah, those take up a lot of space, and we would have to fill these out by checking the appropriate boxes for your company. So, and I'm not going to spend any time on this because we talk about reps and certs all the time lately, but boxes like this: has not previously had contracts subject to the written affirmative action programs. Boxes like that, you'll have to check to fill out your reps and certs appropriately for your business. But coming back up to the beginning, I promised I would show you that box that they check to say that it's unrestricted. So that is here. Typically, most of what we look at is small business set aside opportunities. So they would check this box over here, small business set asides. But they did not for this one. They unchecked it and they checked unrestricted instead, essentially. So this means it could be any large business, Fortune 500 company. It doesn't matter. Anybody can bid and respond to this. And like I said, they probably did that because this is OCONUS, and they might not have as much faith and confidence in small business owners to be able to perform this requirement. But come on, guys, we can respond to this. We can perform this requirement. It's not that hard. So hopefully a small business wins this one. Maybe one of you guys will decide to respond to it. Who knows? Okay, so this next page, and they're telling you it's RFQ. So it's a request for quote. It's not even a full-blown proposal. We already saw this. This is a copy and paste job, pricing, technical reps and certs. So we're just going to go past that. They have the schedule, contract clauses, evaluation factors, reps and certs. We kind of already covered all of that. Prices and period of performance, After contract award and submission of insurance certificates, the contracting officer shall issue a notice to proceed, which is called an NTP. Basically, that's when the clock starts to tick. And in this case, they're saying the NTP will establish a minimum date of 10 days from the start date on which performance shall start. So guys, you've got just under 2 weeks to get your person there, or hopefully you're using somebody who is local to start working on this contract. You got to be ready. And as we also already know, we have one base period and 4 option years. So if it sounds like I'm repeating myself, if you've been kind of watching since the beginning, I've read the same stuff like 3 or 4 times now. There's a lot of repetition with the government when you're putting together your responses, your proposals, your quotes, whatever. It's also a lot of repetition from you as the contractor. So just, you're kind of going to get used to that. This next part, though, is important. Now what we're looking at is a table for your pricing, essentially, your pricing table. So we can see we have our base year, option year 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then what they do is they give you the total to fill out, base 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the total, the grand total. So this is quite easy to fill out. What they want is, for example, the price for 1 month. They're not looking for an hourly rate on these. For this one, they're looking for a month. And they're saying the number of months, which is 12. We know that's 1 year. So all you would do is say, hey, this is going to cost whatever it's going to cost. I don't know, $7,000 a month. You're going to bill the government times 12. And then whatever 7 times 12 is, 12 and 4, 84. I should have known that. 84,000. So $84,000 per year at $7,000 per month. That would be how you would fill this out. And then if you're going to do some sort of incremental increase in your pricing, guys, it's pretty normal to build in for an incremental pricing because your employee eventually is going to want a raise. Also, if you're looking at a period of time that's 5 years, you're going to be looking at changes in the cost of living, things like that. So what you want to do, and you want to know it's okay to do, that you can build for an incremental increase in your pricing when you're looking at especially professional services types contracts over a period of 5 years. You should these numbers should not be exactly the same for each year. The government's going to say, like, man, you're not going to give your employee anything, like no bonus, no nothing. So know that as you fill something like that out, and then you can just take the totals for each year and then add them all up to be a grand total. Sorry, let me switch my screen here. Total for each year was what I was just saying. And then you just add up each year and you get your grand total here. So pretty straightforward. I mean, we heard them say pricing, technical, and reps and certs, right? So this would cover the pricing portion of it. They're giving us a statement of work, which is really going to be the meat and potatoes, the instructions, the specs, depending on what type of industry you're in and what you're looking at, that type of information, what you need to do, duties and responsibilities is going to be listed in this section, scope of work, PWS, SOW, statement of work, 4 or 5 different ways of essentially saying the same exact thing. You'll see this in almost every single opportunity. So you can get really comfortable with seeing something like this. That's just how you know what job you need to do. For example, for this, they're telling you what times breakfast, lunch, and dinner should be served. They're giving you a time range. Also, the contractor needs to clean the kitchen. So your cook needs to know that he or she needs to also basically maintain the sanitation. I think I read in here also about, stocking the food and doing the shopping. I mean, it's like, that's all on you. The Marines or the government location is not going to supply you with that type of stuff. I do believe that they will supply you with some equipment like can openers and some basic tools, but food itself, I'm pretty sure this person is going to be responsible for sourcing all of that. This is interesting. Well, I should also note that they're calling the clearance level is none. So no clearance level is needed for something like this. Yeah, it looks like I may have skipped over something important. So Your cook shall have a minimum of 3 years experience managing food service operations. So they are going to want a resume, I can guarantee you, and they need a minimum of 3 years. And they're saying during the first 180 days, so the first half of the year, no substitutions. The contractor will make no substitution of key personnel unless the substitution is required due to illness, death, or termination of employment. So they want the same person there straight before you start moving people around. It says basically after the transition. After that, if you need to, bring somebody else in or what have you, you can do that, but don't do that within the first 6 months. And they're continuing on to say the same thing for replacing. Like, do your best not to have to replace this person. They're telling you insurance requirements that you need to have: $5 million for bodily injury and $1 million for property damage. Insurance is really not that expensive, guys. I think some of you get hung up on it a little bit. Just go talk to your insurance agent about the different offerings that they have for business level insurance. They're going to ask, what does your business do? What industry is your business in? Let them know. If you're doing something like this, you could probably tell them that you're in professional services or professional and administrative services. In that case, your insurance is not going to be as high versus if you were like in construction or something like that. And that's just kind of like common sense type stuff. But, again, they're telling you the level of insurance you need to have. And if you have a business, you should have some sort of insurance anyways. So you may already be covered, who knows? Or you might just have to increase your coverage a little bit depending on what your limits are on there. So I think we're getting close to, okay, so here is deliverables. We don't talk about this a whole lot, so I will touch on this. Basically, once you're awarded the contract, you have something called deliverables. These are things that you need to perform or deliver by a certain date. And for example, let me show you something. After 10 days of award, they want to see your evidence of insurance. So you're gonna have to scan your insurance and send that to them within 10 days after you get the award. If there's any license and permits, they want that on the same day. Transition plan, 5 days after the award. A 20-day menu plan. They want this 1 week prior to the start of a new menu cycle. So if they're going to swap out menus, then your chef, your cook is going to have a new menu plan. And then that employee of yours is going to have to give that to you as the owner. And then you as the owner will have to submit that to the government in accordance with this. And what they're saying is within 1 week before that new menu starts. So quality control plans prior to the start of performance and each option year. Basically, how are you going to control the quality that relates to this particular job? QCPs, quality control plans, are fairly straightforward and common in government contracting as a deliverable. And basically, you can probably get some sort of blanket boilerplate statement quality control plan, but then customize it to make it your own. So these are an example of a few of the deliverables. Quite frankly, there seems to be a lot on a contract like this, but I'm sure part of that is because of the nature of this contract. So we don't talk about that a whole lot, but just know, because what I focus on, guys, is business development. I focus on, there we go. I focus on the front end. I try to go in the trenches with you guys where it's most difficult. And I put the onus on you to be able to do what you say you can do. I put it on you to say that you have a business and you can fill the need for the government. I don't come in that capacity to tell you how to do your business or how to run your business. You should know how to do that. If you don't, then you shouldn't be in government contracting. Figure that out first and then come. That just means you're not ready. Where I want to spend my time is here doing these things on, like I said, the front lines in the trenches, looking at bids, basically taking people who are small business owners and can do a good job and they want to do it for the government. I want to help you. Those are the folks that I'm trying to help. I'm not, if you can't deliver on these things, then you shouldn't be bidding on this, So I can't really help you too much with that. I can explain to you what the government is going to require. But again, at some point, there's going to be some responsibility on you as a small business owner. And if you don't know, then that just means you're not ready. There's a lot of folks that are getting into government contracting that have no idea what they're doing. It makes me very nervous. And so I'm going to be increasingly drawing a line. And that line's going to start getting thicker and thicker and thicker. Because if you don't know how to run a business, people are asking basic questions about insurance and stuff like that. That insurance is not a government contracting thing. It's a business thing. If you don't know how to do your taxes, if you don't know how to do your accounting, if you don't have an accountant, if you don't have a lawyer you can reach out to if you need help with something, that's not stuff that should be stopping you from getting into government contracting. That should stop you from getting into business at all. You should just go be an employee and work somewhere until you're ready, or build it on the side. I think entrepreneurship is great, but GovCon is not just some excuse for skipping all of the business stuff first. You have to do the business stuff first and then get into government contracting. So I'll get off my soapbox on that, but I'm seeing a lot more of it, and I'm going to have to address it because I'm not going to be associated with bringing small business owners into a space that have no idea what they're doing, helping them win the contract. And then when they win it, they have no idea what to do because they weren't a business first, or they didn't learn the business first, or whatever. And I can't be associated with that. So I'm going to be making some soapbox claims like that, probably throughout this year. I'm going to be putting more pressure on you guys to know your stuff before you listen to me, before you listen to somebody else, before you become a GovCon consultant. Know your stuff first. So yeah. Allah with Love says, hello. Thank you for joining, hanging out with us, guys. Anthony says, what subjects of contracts are most easy to get? Anthony, I can try to answer that at the end. If you guys have any questions about the bid we're going through, those are the questions that I'm trying to answer right now. And any other questions I'll try to get to at the end of the session also. So hope that's making sense, guys. And again, don't mind my soapbox, but I go to coach mode sometimes where I tell you what you need to hear rather than what you always want to hear. I'm just looking at what's best for you. That's all. So what else do we have here? The United States government requires a variety of food services, operation services, including but not limited to menu planning and coordination. So the menu stuff, food sourcing. I knew that they talked about that in here somewhere. So yeah, your employee, your contracted employee is going to also be responsible for sourcing the food, food preparation, food service staffing, and quality management. So again, they're showing us those hours, breakfast, lunch, and dinner that your person would need to be providing during those range. Objectives, these are some of the ways they're going to basically tell if you're doing a good job or not. Provide a proper skill mix and experience of qualified personnel. High quality food operations with minimal disruption during transitions. Control costs of food services. Provide effective internal controls and management oversight. Demonstrate an innovative approach to food operations. We want food innovation, high level customer satisfaction. And then when required, assist Master Sergeant Mess NCO in identifying high quality food for meal preparation. Okay. And what's becoming a little bit more apparent to me, I know that they said 40 hours, and I said at the beginning, it's a little bit of a clue. Like I said, it's just a clue that this may just be one person, but looking at this and the way that I'm reading the writing, they're asking for cook services. So that could potentially mean more than one employee. It could be however many it takes to do the job. I don't know, but that's just something that you'd want to pay attention to. Maybe even ask the question, because this thing just came online. Let's see. Today. I thought it was today. So this bid is hot off the press. If you had a question for contracting and you could say, hey, is this for one employee or one contractor, or is this for a team? Is a small team required for something like this? It's something I would want to know. before I ask the question, I would spend a little more time thoroughly reading through this to see if I could answer it myself. But if not, I would ask the question, because it never hurts to ask questions on something you're bidding on and you're spending your own time and resources. Why not be overly thorough with your questions if you have to? Menu planning. The contractor shall establish 20-day menus. And then, like we said before, you'll be switching out those menus. So I don't know. I think we're pretty much still in the period of work, the PWS here. Just a lot of food details. I want to get to some more of the contracting stuff. Okay, so here's one of the other things, though. The equipment that the government will provide. So this is something called a GFE or GFP, government furnished property or government furnished equipment. That's another term that you can get used to seeing. That's something that goes on all bids, all contracts. You'll see that. And what that is it's the equipment, or, primarily equipment. It's what the government will provide, because usually the government doesn't provide anything for the contractor to do their job. But they will provide GFP or GFE. This could be anything from like a desk for the employee to work at, a phone at the desk. In this particular contract, they're notating a lot of it. They're talking about storage carts, dishwashers, basically a kitchen. They're going to give you a kitchen. They don't expect you to provide the people and a kitchen and the equipment. They're even going down to forks and spoons and knives. They're telling you, frying pans, even all this stuff they're going to provide. And it's a good thing, because otherwise you would want to ask that question. Like, how am I supposed to provide these food services if I don't have the proper utensils for my employee, right? You could really get screwed on a contract if you don't watch yourself there. So they're being thorough in that for a reason. These are contracts. Contracts are all about the details. So now we're getting to the clauses, and then probably, reps inserts. What do we have here? Payment schedule, invoicing, paid holidays. So here is the instructions to offerers. Like I always say, we look for two primary things when we're quickly going through bid opportunities. We look for instruction to offerers. That's going to tell you what you need to put together in your response. And then the evaluation factors, which is how the winning bidder is going to be decided. We already read a little bit of both of these in the description here, because they told us quotes must include, and then they also told us the somewhere in here, lowest price. They told us both of those. So we kind of already know. I'm hoping they'll give us just a little bit more details though. So instruction to offers, each offer must consist of the following: completed SF 1449, complete the blocks 12, 17, and 19 through 24. They tell you how to fill it out. But essentially it's put in your address, print, sign, and date. That's pretty much what you need to do. And then next, they want information demonstrating the ability to perform, including they want a PM, which is a program or a project manager. They're calling it a liaison to the embassy, must understand written and spoken English. So they want the name of a PM. So it might be you as a small business owner. You may be the PM on this contract. Very likely that would be the case. Next, they want evidence that you have basically a legit business. They want your permanent address and your telephone number. Shouldn't be too hard. Next, list of clients over the last 3 years demonstrating prior experience with food preparation, serving, and relevant past performance. There's a key word for you, past performance. So they are asking for 3 years relevant past performance on this. And of those, they want to see these items: the quality, compliance, how effective, did you manage the contract? Willingness to cooperate with and assist the customer in routine matters. And then business integrity and business conduct. So they're not saying it has to be a previous government contract, but if you've provided anything like this in the commercial space previously, or if, say, even if you were a cook or a chef in the past, and now you run a small business, you could use that as personal past performance on something like this as well. They would totally be open to that as past performance. If you don't have it, then probably wouldn't waste my time on this, because it's lowest price. So it's basically, you're going to get the check or you're going to get the X. Do you have it or don't you? Are you technically acceptable or are you not? They're not going to be splitting hairs on something like this. So I would do my best to find something that you could provide to answer this part so that you could get the check instead of the X on the evaluation. If you can't, and you know you can't, don't waste your time. If you can, then maybe go for it. The government will use past performance information primarily to assess the offeror's capability to meet the solicitation requirements. Now, what are they saying here? Okay, okay. We're just moving to the next section now. Now, next, they want evidence that the offeror you can provide the necessary personnel, equipment, and financial resources needed to perform the work. So what you would do, guys, to put this in layman's terms, you would take a Word doc. I would say the best way to write a proposal or write a response, this is a request for quote, even though they are giving you a bit more to write to than you normally would see in a quotation. I always say don't start with a blank sheet of paper. Anytime you're going to write anything, start with an outline. If you're not, if you're new to this, if you're new to writing proposals or just quotes or responses in general on beta.sam and trying to respond to something, most of you are, if not all of you, I know that you are new to this. And at the very least, you're probably not very good or you're not a pro. This is one of the biggest challenges that I see. You don't start with a blank sheet of paper. You go to these sections, you go to the instruction to offerors, these items we're reading through right now. You go to the evaluation factors, pull and extract that key information that they're telling you, and then use that information to build an outline. So make it easy on yourself. Copy and paste, do whatever you have to. Okay, they're saying number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool, take that. Number 1, copy, paste. Number 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Start to build out an outline. And then once you have a comprehensive list of everything and you feel pretty confident that you have identified all that key information the government's looking for, again, it's either going to be technical, price, or past performance, and maybe some forms that you got to sign. That's going to be pretty comprehensive of what they could be looking for, and maybe even less than that, though. That's why reading is really fundamental. But you take that information, you build your outline with it, and then you just start responding. Write a few sentences. Okay, they want a resume. Okay, well, put in a format for a resume and then fill the resume out later. But at least your format for the resume is holding like a space. It's like a space holder. This is how we work as writers. You have to get started, and you don't start with a blank sheet of paper. You don't go from nothing to perfection. You go from nothing to an outline that's very, very raw, and then you just start painting by numbers, fill in the sections a little bit, and then a little bit more. You start honing it, getting it more detailed, maybe move some things around, delete some things, and then before you know it, you have something that's 80 to 90% complete. Maybe add a table of contents, definitely put some sort of cover page on it. Make sure you have like a pricing table in there. And then you're like, holy crap, I've got a response. Like it may not be perfect, but it's better than anything I've done. Like that's really like what it would look like for you if you're new to this. And again, you get started by pulling these, my mouse here. You get started by going to this instruction to offer section here, and you can practice this. Pull anything up, pull something up that looks good for you. Try and find the instruction to offers. Well, if they don't have it, and they just give you like bullet points, or they just have something like this in the beta.sam document that says, this is what we want in your quote. Okay, well, copy and paste this. Like, they're going to tell you what they want. So take it, put it in a blank sheet and start to build an outline, start to flesh it out. And then you're going to already be halfway done with the thing. And then see what forms you have to fill out. Okay, we know that there's an SF 1449 at the beginning of this. Okay, well, that's not hard. They tell me what boxes, sign date and whatever. Like, it only takes really a few seconds to do that. For this, they've already given us a pricing table. So here it is. We know we have to fill this out too. So you can copy and paste this or rebuild this into your own Word doc, or just fill it out in here and give them the whole thing. Very quickly, by the process of subtraction and basically using logic, taking things off of your desk that you don't have to do or that you've now finished, you quickly realize you don't have much left to do. Then you get to use the momentum that you just gained from doing all the easy stuff. And if you got to use a little bit of willpower to push through some of the hard stuff, now you have it because you have that willpower. So I guess we're on a soapbox now about talking about proposal writing, but it's really true. I mean, it's really true. And I've seen it with small business owners who were new and they were just getting started. And so much of it is a mind game. Just don't start with a blank sheet of paper and you'll be halfway home. So I hope that, I know you didn't ask for it, but I mean, there's no structure to this, right? I'm just kind of doing what I want anyways. So hopefully that reaches one of you or some of you who maybe have some anxiety about responding to these things. That's why I do these type of lives, so that we can talk about that type of stuff, the stuff that's really hard, even though it's really not that hard, but it seems hard because you've never done it before. So what else we got going on here? Hey, Ali, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Ali, I'll check your question out. We got a few questions to get to at the end of this. So I'll check that question out. Looks like we're almost finished with this one anyways. So I'll check that out in a little bit. So no worries. Here is the reps and certs. I referenced this at the beginning. We talk about reps and certs quite a bit. These are basically self-certifications for your business, and whether you know it or not, in sam.gov, when you registered an entity, you registered your business, you got your cage code, you've already filled these out by answering all those questions. But that's what they are. It's those questions again. And you can actually download them from your sam.gov profile. If you log in and select view in sam.gov, view your entity on that little left table of contents, you'll literally see it's called reps and certs. You can click on it and you can download your FAR and your DFARS report, and you can get these that way, or you can just fill them out directly here in the document. It's the same stuff though. So let me see, we're quickly getting to the end of this. And that's it. And I'm sure we missed some stuff. I know there was something in here that I saw earlier about the necessary something for doing work in Geneva, or maybe it was just the government saying, hey, if there's any special requirements needed to do work, in Switzerland outside, to provide that. So you would have to look into, hey, what are things that could stop me? What are some issues that I could, run into? What does it take to do business in Switzerland? Because you are in Switzerland. So that's you as a contractor. You're basically bringing that to the government. The government's just saying, hey, I'm trusting that you're good to go and that you're set up and you can do this. They're not going to really probably vet you too much, the government themselves. The country might vet you. But yeah, so if you're not familiar with doing stuff outside the country, this wouldn't be one of those things that you want to probably mess around with. But if you're very comfortable and, you probably would want to know the country of Switzerland, to know how it is doing business there and things like that, even though it's still on U.S. Embassy, it's still U.S. that's really the last thing that I would probably say about this. And that's why, again, they probably opened it up here to unrestricted. Oh man, I got to get better at this. Sorry, I'm not sharing my screen, which is again why they probably set this for unrestricted, because there may be certain things that prevent you from doing business. You know, I don't know. You would have to look into that, but it might not be that bad. So if anybody's going to bid on this, definitely let me know if you end up bidding on it, because this is just posted live today and you got a whole month to respond to it. They do want some past performance, and they had those technical questions that they wanted you to answer to, and your pricing for the base and 5-year option periods. 4-year option periods, base price total of 5 years though. So it could be a nice 5-year contract, could be a good past performance builder for you. And I thought it was just kind of cool that they were looking for a chef or a cook services, whatever they want to call it. So yeah. If anybody has questions about this bid, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to now start addressing some of the questions that we have in the chat. So let me scroll back here. So Dwayne said, I have a question about beta.sam. It's not as user-friendly as FBO. Could you quickly go over it? Yeah, I think we have a few minutes. We finished a little bit early today, Dwayne, so I will do that. And I totally, wholeheartedly agree with you. I am not a big fan of beta.sam. I'm getting better with it. And I've created, I have created a few videos on my channel since you asked the question that do show you kind of how to use it. I'll just leave the question up for anybody who's watching. But I'll do a quick rundown for it. So an FBO, it was so much better. I agree that it was so much better. So we got to work with what we got to work with. So if you go to, let's just start from the beginning, beta.sam.gov, it defaults at all award data. So you want to toggle down to contract opportunities and click search. I don't ever write anything in this search bar because I wanted to go to the main menu. If you scroll down, here's the main menu. On the right-hand side, you have your search results. On the left-hand side, you have your filters. You're definitely going to want to use a few of these filters. You're able to search by keyword, which can be helpful if you don't know what NAICS code you're searching by. If you do have a NAICS code, you can insert your NAICS code down here as well. Also, if you have PSC codes, if you use product and service codes, you could use them as well. One thing that is super important to know about using beta.sam.gov or just searching opportunities in general is the type of notice. So the type of notice, I say there's 4 stages of a bid, and my quickest spiel is the first stage is the sources sought. That's market research. The government's finding out if anybody is interested in responding to this opportunity currently. There's no bids taking place right now. It's just throwing your hat in the ring. Stage 2 is the pre-solicitation. It's just an FYI letting you know the bid is coming out in the future with certain details, and they'll share those details with you. Stage 3 is the actual bid itself. It's what we just looked at. It's a full-blown solicitation. And then stage 4 is the award of that bid. So when you come to type of notice here in beta.sam, you want to make sure you're searching. And this is probably the biggest thing that I see people mess up on. They'll type something in here, a keyword or an NAICS code, and then they'll just start looking at stuff. They'll say monitor, and then they'll just be like, oh my God, there's 4,000 results. I don't know what to do. Well, one of the first things you should do is if you're actually looking to bid on something, you need to filter it down by the right type of notice, which is going to be a solicitation and a combined synopsis solicitation. Now, you're down to 1,600. It helps quite a bit. If you're looking at sources sought or pre-solicitations or awards, you can't respond to any of those. So quit wasting your own time. So really my first tip is to make sure you're responding to the proper type of notice for you. Now, if you want to, do research, you can search by awards. So if you want to see what awards are going for at what prices, you can put in a NAICS code, you can put in a keyword, and then see what awarded to what companies and to what price. That's another thing that you can do now that the FPDS system is going away. And then kind of the other main thing that I think you should be worried about is this response date offers due. Probably the tied for first or the second biggest thing is, again, people will just put something in here and they'll just start going through the search results. What they don't realize is probably 1/3 of it is old. So what you want to make sure you're doing, and that's why the opportunity from today, the chef cook services, it was posted today because I used this filter. Instead of selecting any time or looking at something in the past, I look into the future. And the way I do that is by selecting the custom date. I'll put today's date in of the 15th, and then I'll go 30, 60, or 90 days out into the future so that I'm only looking at stuff that is due in the future. So now we're down to 320 results. So that's something that you must use. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at something that's old. It doesn't hurt to look at the past few weeks because something may be coming up, but it's not due yet. So you could also do a search for like the past week, but going much further than that is not really going to help you. And you're not going to see much that's due in the future. So that was really my quickest rundown and my primary tips, Dwayne. So I hope that helps. Anthony says, what subject of contracts are most easy to get? You know, Anthony, I appreciate that question, but I don't really like that question because I don't like doing things that are easy, and I don't really talk about things that you should do because they're easy. It almost comes down to like, well, what's the quickest way I can get rich? It almost sounds get rich quick when you ask, what are the easiest contracts to get? One thing that I will say is the simplified, to technically answer your question, contracts are a little bit easier to get if they are underneath the simplified acquisition threshold, the SAT, which is currently $250,000. So if you're dealing with contracts that are less than $250,000, there's less approval that contracting has to go through. They can even do things like oral solicitations, meaning they don't even have to write out a contract. So if you have a relationship or something like that and you provide a quote, they may not even necessarily be competing it on beta.sam. You may not see these type of requirements. You will see some of them, but you're not going to see all of them. They can be easier. And then, basically acquisitions over the SAT, the simplified acquisition threshold, there's more of a process because there's more dollar value at stake. And usually it's a bigger deal just in general because it's a larger contract. But the way that I read the question as you put it is what subject of contracts are most easy to get? To me, that sounds like, well, what industry should I get into? Anybody who's taken my free courses, I talk about, I like staffing and professional services for getting into, but I don't say it's easy. I say there's fewer barriers to entry, but there's nothing easy about managing people. So I just don't like that word because it kind of sounds like you might be trying to avoid doing hard work. So if I took that the wrong way, feel free to let me know. But I just don't like the word easy. Nothing good has ever come easy, right? So Anthony also said, how do you go about actually finding a cook and proposing the contract to them, also following through and completing the tasks? Well, your cook is going to complete the tasks. The way that you go about finding a cook is you get on Indeed or Monster and you become a professional services business, i.e. kind of like a staffing company. So it's your job to be able to get really good at finding talent, finding resources, which are people. You need to get good at doing that. It's called sourcing. You have to become a good sourcer of people. And that's really what staffing companies are. They are a middleman for providing people, and they contract them out. This is not just a government thing. This is, Kelly Services. We've all heard of Kelly Services, world's largest staffing company, or one of the largest. That's what they do. They're very good at finding people. They get very good at understanding requirements, at understanding what the customer wants, and providing really good employees that meet those requirements at a minimum level, if not more. and then proposing the contract to them. And that's a good question. How do you go out and find a potential contractor, an employee, and say, hey, we have this contract job? So first, you kind of got to educate the potential person, him or her, educate them on what government contracting is. Let them know that it is not an indefinite position. You kind of got to let them know that it's for a base up to 5 years. So 1 to 5 years. Some people are not interested in that. Others would love something like that because they like a variety. Maybe they could travel and go to Switzerland for this particular example. But it wouldn't be for everybody. This is just kind of like a recruiting tip, a staffing tip, since it's kind of more of my areas of expertise more than any other industry, because it's where I come from. Don't withhold information. When you're trying to recruit people, you want to give them a reason to back out. Don't be so desperate for that employee, because if you kind of talk them into something, and then when it actually comes down to getting the job and they back out, you're going to be hurting a lot, and you're going to be very embarrassed, and you're going to have a customer who's very unhappy with you. When you're recruiting, finding people, you must be honest and upfront with them at the very beginning, and you almost want to force them to like push them out to make them not take it. Make them convince you as to why they should be a good fit for the job. Don't give away your power because you're desperate to find somebody. You got to keep that power and be okay having nobody. And you're going to find somebody, but feeling like you're going to have nobody versus having an employee that you think you have and then stopping looking at other ones. And then when it comes time to close the job, they back out because they're nervous or whatever. You have to really, really make sure that you vet anybody you're recruiting, especially for a job like this. If it means going overseas, you really got to get them to convince you why they should take the job and why their lifestyle is going to allow it. Are they married and stuff? I mean, most of these questions you can't ask, but you can kind of try and find out and get them talking, and they'll offer it up. And if you find cause that like, hey, this is not going to make sense for them to take this job, don't just desperately, accept them because they're saying they want it. You really have to kind of grill them a little bit. So that's a good question. Dwayne says, has the period of asking questions already passed to ask questions? Dwayne, nope. This, like I said, this was just posted today and it's due a month from now. So there is plenty of time to ask questions. And that's a good question. Jeff Fettel, what's going on, Jeff? Where can I find the different conference events on beta.sam like you could in the FBO? Yeah, let me see if I can show that for you. There used to be a place, and I may not be able to find it. Jeff is asking about government contracting conferences and small business events, things where you can attend in person or virtually. And I've seen it. One thing I know that you can do, Jeff, is you can literally search it. They'll post it in here like an actual opportunity. Man, where did it go? Like if you search conference, for example, a lot of these are not going to be right. Where did it go? I may have to get back to you on that, Jeff, because that's a good question. It's in here somewhere. Is it down here? I haven't looked at it in so long because of COVID. I just kind of stopped paying attention to it. Jeff, I'll have to, it's going to bug me. I'll have to get back to you on that. Good question. Natasha, what's going on? That was so helpful. I'm so glad to hear that. I'm glad it was helpful. What else do we have? Anthony says, I don't like easy things also. I just asked to see if there's levels to go through to build trust and rapport with the contract providers and also build a reputation in order to receive large contracts. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I just, I was answering it the best that I could. Yeah, I'm not sure what industry you're looking at going into, so I can't really answer it too much more. Steven says, I have experience in starting and running IT companies and daycare centers. Should I have two separate LLCs, or can I have both services under one? So daycare and IT. I've had the umbrella conversation a good number of times. And that conversation is when, hey, you have two unrelated services. You don't necessarily have to create two different businesses. Instead, what you do is you find something in common. Like, for example, if you can provide handyman services and you can also provide road salt, well, those aren't exactly the same type of thing, but a nice umbrella that would fit both of those, Stephen, is like facilities maintenance or base operations, okay? Because the base needs road salt and the base needs handyman services, okay? Even though those two are not related, you could do some sort of facilities umbrella that encompasses them both, and it makes it nice and neat. When you have that, I say keep it underneath one umbrella. Something like IT services and daycare, I'm pretty sure there's just not going to be any umbrella, any related thread that connects those two. One business is really like enough to get started with. I wouldn't start two GovCon business at once to begin with. And if you were to ask me if you had to choose one, I would 110% do IT instead of daycare. The government buys more IT than it does daycare. And there's some other reasons why I would say to lean into IT instead. Now, Stephen, if you have a spouse or somebody that could run the daycare and then you could run the IT, maybe you could separate it and kind of do it that way. But to answer your question succinctly, in terms of creating an entity in sam.gov and doing NAICS codes and all that stuff, I would not make, if you're planning to pursue opportunities in both of those categories, this would be one of those unique situations where I would separate them. I wouldn't put them under one. So I hope that helps. Yeah, Jeff, after I get done going live here, Jeff, I'm going to have to look and find that, because I know I'm going to find it as soon as I hang up here. It's one of those things. I knew it was under. Oh, it's right here. Okay. Found it. It's like staring me in the face here, Jeff. Okay, you can see my screen. So guys, Jeff is asking about small business events. So if you go to beta.sam, it's in this blue area that nobody ever looks at. You just go straight down to here, and that's why my eye wasn't catching it. They've created a button over here. So if you click small business events, this is where they are putting those now. So if you scroll down, this is where they have the industry days and webinars and probably some stuff in here that doesn't belong. Yeah, definitely stuff in here that does not belong. But what you can see here, Jeff, what they're doing is they're doing a keyword search. So you could also consider doing this on your own as well, searching small business event, because I think they're supposed to be tagging those with that so people can find it. And you can see here, they're also calling them a special notice. So you could also search special notices for small business events or small business conferences. It's just kind of defaulting into that for you. So that is that button again. You go back here. Contract opportunities, small business events. That's how I found that. That was the answer I was trying to get for you. It may not be the best answer, but it is the answer that they're giving us. They also have this thing for vendor collaboration. So these are also either going to be events, or they're going to be contracts where technically they're supposed to be contracts where they're looking for other small businesses to work with them. But I never spent any time in that, so I can't really vouch for what they mean by collaboration, but it's something to check into if somebody was looking for collaboration, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, small business events, that's what I was looking for. Anthony says, my industry is federal defense, providing the military with ammo, firearms, etc. So Anthony, if you currently have contracts, then just if you already have contracts providing ammo and firearms and other things, as you've said, then the easiest thing for you would to be to grow that existing customer. Because I always say you should target 3 to 5 agencies. And I say that with hopes of you getting 1 or 2 main customers that you can go to again and again and again. But it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. If you're only throwing 1 piece of spaghetti and it doesn't stick, then you're going to starve. But if you throw 3 or 4 or 5 and you get 1 or 2 to stick, then you're in business. Double and triple down on what's working for you. So if ammo and firearms is working for you, and you're saying the federal defense. So if you're within the DoD, if you're providing that to the Army, the Navy, or the Air Force, the Department of Defense, or any of their sub-tier agencies, I would double down on those agencies that you're winning with, and then use that past performance, use those contracts to go after other similar agencies and just kind of spider web. We call this farming. You get started out by hunting, you go out with a spear until you get that first contract. And then once you get that first contract, then you want to farm. You've got your foot in the door. Now you want to branch out and you want to see how many more contracts from the inside you can get now that you have conversations happening with contracting officers and representatives and anybody who's on the inside you can get your hands on. Even people that employees may know if you're providing some sort of service. So that's the easiest route to go about that. Natasha says, professional services, management, consulting, leadership, HR. I worked for the federal government for over 14 years, and now I'm transferring those skills to contracting. That's awesome. And you can use that performance, that past performance, that experience, Natasha. You can use your resume because you're going to be a key personnel. You're going to be a PM or what have you. Even if you are the small business owner, you can bring that. You can absolutely bring that to what you're doing. And that space you're going into, the government buys a lot. And you probably already know that. So I feel very good about what you just said, especially 14 years. You're saying you worked for the federal government for over 14 years. So you probably already know how the game is played at least halfway. I'm not sure what area you were in, if you were in procurement or if you were in administration or what have you, but you've got a lot going for you, Natasha. And I know you've been, showing up recently, so it's good to see you. And hey, I hope to see you win some stuff in 2021. Jeff says, oh yes, I wanted to thank you because I put things into place on a state bid like I would at Fed bid, and it worked. And I won a statewide COVID contract for Georgia this week. So thanks again. Holy crap, Jeff, that's awesome. Good for you, man. Geez. You hear that, everybody? Jeff got a win. We got another win on our hands here on a state bid. But Jeff saying is he took what he kind of learned or how he would do it for a Fed bid and he applied it to the state and it worked, which is awesome for me to hear because I don't do anything with state. And I know that there's similarities, but I know there's also differences. So to hear that's freaking awesome, man. Congrats, huge congrats, Jeff, for a COVID contract for Georgia this week. So thanks again. That's awesome, man. Anthony says, thank you. Appreciate it. Love the analogy, by the way. Absolutely, Anthony. And thank you for asking the question, Anthony, because the people who ask are the people who can get things cleared out in their minds. So keep at it. And, this is the signs that you're progressing. I had a conversation with somebody the other day through some YouTube comments, and it's like, well, this is how you know you're progressing. You're asking these sorts of questions and you are already doing work. And then you're just kind of tailoring your approach and you're honing in on what's going to work best for you. So, yeah. Well, guys, like I said, I do have an interview that I'm doing later today with the person who won the janitorial Florentina, the janitorial contract. So I'm super excited to be speaking with her, and I will have a video for that early next week is my goal to have that all edited and uploaded for you. So make sure you watch for that video. I'm going to end it here, guys. If you want to be notified, like I said earlier too, When I go live, I'm going live early afternoons on Fridays. Make sure you subscribe and click that notifications bell. Your phone will buzz, about a half an hour before I go live. And then when I go live, it'll show up. So I usually try not to be too like spammy or promotions, but I guess I'm just saying that because a lot of people have been saying, hey, I'm sorry, I missed you. When do you go live? And it's hard for me to notify everybody when I'm going live. It's best for you to just set that notification up for yourself. And also, if you got value from today's video, if you liked the video, hit that like button. It helps the video when it gets started to go through the algorithm and all that good stuff. Feel free to show the video some love. And like I said, I've got a new interview video coming out early next week. And I'll also be back here Friday next week live again if you want to attend. So thanks for hanging out. Again, thank you guys for the engagement and all the questions, all good questions today. I loved all the questions. And again, Jeff, my man, let me show it again. Congrats, huge win. Jeff, I think I have your email address. I'll shoot you an email. I'm not sure if you'd want to do an interview. I'm trying to line up interviews with people who have won contracts so I can create some more content. So you don't have to know, definitely no pressure, but if you'd be interested in doing a 20 to 30 minute thing or something, I'll shoot you an email and see if you'd be down. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this Oconus contract today, Chef Cook Services, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.